We were discussing the idea of a cosmology, which is what the ancient Indian system was. And a cosmology is very, very different from a sociology. And you must understand that when we are looking at cosmology as such, a cosmology is something that invokes the idea of a universe. Let me explain this to you in a nutshell as quickly as I can. Now, if you actually look at, if you basically look at the whole idea of a cosmology, then you believe that this world is a universe and that it is a cosmos. Carl Sagan made a very wonderful serial which was shown on Doordarshan in my younger days. It was called Cosmos. And in that, he basically discussed a lot of things. He talked about galaxies, gravity, all those things. But he also talked about a cosmology. When you talk about a cosmology, it is very, very different from a sociology. A sociology is a study of human society, various institutions, practices, languages, all those things that human beings do in their society, that becomes a sociology. A cosmology, on the other hand, is much bigger. It is not human centric. Sociology is absolutely human centric, but cosmology is not human centric. In fact, if you look at the idea of a cosmology, you will see that the whole thing is derived out of a particular belief that people have, which is that the universe is a living system. So let me explain that a little. I jokingly told you the other day that, if I say, what is a cosmology? Then I'm saying that the world is a cosmology and a cosmos. And I invoke the beauty pageants. So you have Miss Earth, Miss World, and Miss Universe. Now, though that was a joke, actually there is a serious undertone to it. The serious undertone to it is that we think that the universe is bigger than the world. We have no definition of what the world is. We have no definition of what the world is. And rarely do we stop to think about what a universe is. Now, the world, like I said, we have no conception of it. So let us first build a conception of the world. So what is the world? The world is this whole thing. Stars, galaxies, suns, various suns. All these things are the world. Now, what is a universe then? You can also look at the world as a multiverse. If you look at the world as a multiverse, then you're saying that the world has various different things which are unconnected, which have nothing to do with each other. But when you talk about the universe, then you're talking about the idea of one verse. VERSE verse comes from poetry. One verse. Okay. If you take a Latin saying, I'll give it to you in English, not in Latin. It says, all multitude comes from oneness, and this multitude returns back to that oneness. That is what it means. This is what the Romans believed in. This is what the Greeks believed in. This is what the ancient Indians believed in. The ancient Indians basically saw the world as a universe. So when you talk about a universe has certain properties. The first property is that the universe has one purpose, a singular purpose. That is the first thing that you're saying. Not only are you saying that the universe is purposive, you are also saying that the universe is something that has one purpose. That is the first thing. In ancient Indian cosmology, everything is a living system. What the Western civilization considers as non-living are considered by the ancient Indian civilization as living things. If you read the Rig Veda, in the Rig Veda, you will find the idea that the universe is a soul, S-O-U-L, not S-O-L-E. It is a soul, and therefore everything that exists in this world is alive. Nothing is dead. If you remember what Arjuna is told by Krishna, he said the soul uses the body like we use clothes. When clothes become old, we discard them and get into new clothes. Similarly, life and death. This is there even in the Ashtavakra Gita, where Rishi Ashtavakra was giving lessons to Janaka, the father of Sita. It is there even there in that. It is also there in the Bhagavad Gita. Incidentally, there isn't one Gita. There are 58 Gitas. Of these, the most important Gitas are the Bhagavad Gita and the Ashtavakra Gita. That is where most of the relevant knowledge came from. So if you're looking at the idea of a soul, according to the Indians, ancient Indians, cannot be destroyed. It cannot be destroyed. And they also believed in the idea of a transmigration of a soul. A transmigration of a soul is very different from the ancient Greek and the medieval European civilizations where people believed that it was only the human beings who had souls. Even today, they believe that only human beings have souls, animals don't have souls. And for many years, even trees were considered to be non-living creatures. Now they don't do that. Now they consider them to be living creatures. But that's about it. Flora and fauna is what the Westerners talk about. Flora are the trees, plants, all those things. Fauna are the animals, but the soul is the exclusive repository of a human being. The others don't have a soul. But ancient Indians, be they Sanatana Dharma followers, I'm not using the term Hindu, and I'm not using that term for a reason, which I'll explain shortly. So the followers of Sanatana Dharma, the followers of Buddhism, and the followers of Jainism, all of them in different ways believed in the same thing, which is the world is a universe and that it is a cosmos. What is the cosmos? A cosmos is the opposite of a chaos. We have a tendency to think that the chaos is lack of organization. We have a tendency to believe that, you know, the if anything is chaotic, then it is confusing, unorganized, something quite terrible. That's what we believe in. We also say anarchy, chaos and anarchy. All these, for us, these two terms, chaos and anarchy, they represent a lack of organization. They represent confusion. They represent things which are extremely negative. But that is not true. First, let me try to clear what anarchy is. Anarchy is something where you have a society an organized society in which people live commodiously, but there are no structures of power. You know, I have said this in the past, and I'll say it again. An arch basically represents power. Okay? An arch basically represents power. So if you say monarchy, then you're saying one person's power. Anarchy is the complete opposite of that. Nobody has power. There is complete equality. People are living an organized life without the necessity for power centers to rule and to govern us. People. 1 second, please. I'm sorry about this. So, anarchy is a philosophical system, not confusion. A philosophical system where people can live in a society without regulatory power. That is how you have to understand anarchy. Now, chaos is completely different. We use chaos and anarchy together, but you shouldn't, because chaos has nothing to do with anarchy. We think again chaos is confusion.
Sir,
Yes, Rachna.
anarchy means self-dependent. Mahatma Gandhi told about this, right, sir?
Mahatma
Se-
Gandhi didn't say self-dependent,
se- uh,
Rachna.
uh,
Mahatma Gandhi talked about villages and the Panchayat Samiti system. The Panchayat Samiti system is something that existed in the ancient Indian period, in those which were called Janapadas. A Janapada needed a small bit of regulation. It also needed a bit of punishing of people who committed bad acts. So you had 5 people. Panchayat is 5 people. Samiti of 5 people. Panchayat Samiti is an organization of 5 people. One of these is the Sarpanch. We follow this today also, but in a different way. The Sarpanch is the one who chairs. It is like the president, presiding officer, who conducts the proceedings. A sarpanch doesn't have powers in the olden days. A sarpanch didn't have powers. He was only there to coordinate a meeting. So, five elderly, wise men were a panchayat samiti in the olden days, and there was no police, there was no army, none of these things existed. So, when Gandhi talked about independent India after sending the British out, Gandhi wanted that kind of panchayat system, panchayat samiti system. So Gandhi basically, at you know what he said. He said India lives in its villages, and for him, true democracy was Gram Swaraj. Gandhi was an eccentric man. He believed that every village should be a self-contained entity. Every village should be a self-contained entity without the necessity for trading with other villages. He said, if it becomes inevitable, okay, but otherwise, every village should become self-contained. And then he said, all the villages will be the Gram Sabha, and there'll be a Panchayat Samiti. The Panchayat Samiti will function according to what the Gram Sabha wants. So, in that sense, Gandhi was minimizing authority. He was against the nation state system. He was against the Western way of politics. He wanted to go back to this system of Panchayat Raj, Panchayat Samiti, sorry, which existed in the old period in the Janapadas. So he did not, you should not use the word anarchy with Gandhi, because anarchy is a specific philosophy that came up in the West. Yes, Gandhi didn't want concentration of power in a few hands. He would have been shocked if he saw this wonderful, what is her name? Uh, the this the Sonia Gandhi deciding and saying, give Telangana. He would have said, we should not have that kind of power centers. You should not have those kind of power centers. You should have non-power centers. There should be no exercise of power. There should only be regulation. In that sense, he philosophically comes very close. He comes philosophically very, very close to uh, anarchy, but you shouldn't call him an anarchist because anarchy is a Western philosophy, whereas what Gandhi was trying to do was to resurrect and restore an ancient Indian system. So
Okay,
there are,
sir.
there are similarities, but they are different. So you shouldn't use anarchy with Gandhi.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So chaos was what we were talking about. If you're looking at a chaos, what is a chaos? A chaos is not confusion, not lack of organization. It's none of those things. Chaos basically means things happening because, things happening without uh, any predetermined meaning. So let me first tell you what is the cosmos. Then you'll understand the chaos better. If you're a believer in the idea of the cosmos, if you're a believer in the idea of a universe, then you will say, there is a reason why you are my students and I am your teacher. There is a reason behind that. We might not know the reason. Okay, we might not know the reason, but there is a reason. Nothing happens without a reason. Nothing happens without a reason. I think I gave this example once. I'll give it to you again. I went to visit a doctor who lived quite far away. He was a spiritually inclined person, despite being a doctor. And somehow we got talking about spiritualism. And he said, look, did you ever go into your neighbor's house? I said, no. No, I have a house on my right, on the right side of my house. I don't even know who lives in that house. Seriously, I don't even know how to. I never been into their houses, but I went all the way to this man's house. So he says that is the purpose. That is the purposiveness of the universe. And I think it's a brilliant example. There are people right next to you. You don't go to them. You travel great distances to meet other people. So, if you believe in the cosmic principle, which is also the principle of the universe, if you believe in that, then you believe that everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens without a reason. Just because we don't understand that particular reason, it does not mean that, you know, it is not a cosmos or a cosmology. Those who say, yeah, so you went to meet somebody somewhere, you didn't go to your neighbor's house. Well, that is nothing but a series of accidents. That's what people will say. That's nothing but a series of accidents. And in this accidents, when I say accident, it is not automobile accidents where people die. Accidents are those which are unintended happenings. You say, I went to Gurgaon and I met a senior of mine, a senior from Nizam College. I met him there. We spoke to each other. And I went to my foster son's house where I was. And he said, why are you, how come you came so late? So I said, I accidentally ran into an old friend, a senior. That is a chaotic perception. A cosmic perception will tell you there was a reason why I met this person in Gurgaon. That is what it will tell you. There was a reason why I met him in Gurgaon. So nothing happens without a reason. Everything is preordained. Everything is preordained in a universe. That is why it is one verse. Everything has meaning. Whether you can grasp it or not, it doesn't change the fact that there is a meaning. Doesn't change that. I'll stop here because you'll have to go to Yasmin's class, and there's just 2 minutes left. Tomorrow I'll continue with the cosmology thing, and I'll also talk to you tomorrow about the organization of life as Janapadas, Ganapadas. We'll talk about that. I'm wondering if I should do that now or do some another facet of ancient India and then do this. Let me think about it and decide and tell you. And please take a call on policy studies. If you want me to teach that, I'll have to do it in the evenings or in the afternoon at 1 o'clock or something. I'll do half an hour classes because I have to take 2 first-year papers, political ideologies and Western political thought. And I also have to take those women's college classes. So I'll do a half an hour class on policy studies if you people want. So think about it and please let me know. So thank you very much. I'll see you on Monday.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye. और जहाँ पे